Welcome back, everyone. It is time to create. We're back with another episode here at Clearcraft Studio, and today we have a bit of a treat with some very simple molds. You may recognize this one. We're going to do a couple different processes that I'll explain on the way, and then, of course, we have our bonus. Many of you have seen those flowers that a lot of people have been doing here with resin with these dies, where they, well, you all will see it, so we won't skip a little too much ahead. We're going to be working with all of these wonderful shapes. We're switching over resins today. We're doing the epoxy resin A and B from Let's Resin. So let's go ahead and create. We are going to need about 1 cup of resin for this. We may go a little over a cup, and we're going to be doing things a little bit differently for each one. For this first one, we will use this magic violet color and this silk blue mica powder. And the way we'll do this is we will pour with this one, we'll have the primary color, which is the magic violet, and pour almost giving it that marble effect with the silk blue. With this one, we'll have the main color as a luster black. The accent, we'll have it as the Olympic gold. And we will actually pour with this. I've never used this, so we'll do that for this one. With this one, we'll do the green color with this white as a marble effect, and then we'll get to our bonus when we get there. So let me go ahead and start just putting in the resin that we will be using for this. And again, we're going to use this wonderful B-GIC measuring. We're actually going to set this to a lower setting. And let's start mixing. We'll be right back after this is done. Give it about 3 minutes and it should be cleared up. And then we're going to let it sit for a few more minutes just to make sure all those bubbles are out. So let's get this started. All right, so let's go ahead and, as I mentioned last time, it's important to clean as you go, just to make sure you don't have such a heavy mess after. I especially think it's important to clean your tools that are being reused for your different projects after every single use, as the resin isn't kind when it sticks on non-silicone items. This resin will it can potentially ruin projects that you have in mind if they're not cleaned properly, because, as you may know, resin, when it hardens, it's very, very difficult to remove. So let me just clean this and set this aside for next use. And again, we're just going to leave this to sit for a few moments just to make sure we have good resin. So we'll be back right when that's done. Welcome back. We are going to start dividing our resin for these molds into our smaller cups. And I was able to take a measurement beforehand. So these are about, with the lid, about 3 ounces each. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this up to about, let's do milliliters here. So about 100 milliliters. We're going to fill it up to about 80, let's do 90 milliliters, and fill this cup up to about, I think right here it says 15 milliliters. That way we have just a little, if that, a little over, and that'll get us enough for the actual cup for the actual box, the actual little keepsake box, and then also the lid, and then we'll deal with our bonus when we get there. So let's go ahead and start doing this. This is actually very exciting. I was able to work with Let's Resin, epoxy resin, and it worked so well. It hardened pretty fast. It cured pretty fast to my surprise, which was really, really nice to see. So I'm gonna fill this up to, like I mentioned, let's do a little under 90 milliliters. So let's focus first on what we do have here. We're actually going to have enough for two, so I'll make that right now. So let's go ahead and fill this up to 15 milliliters, about there. Not all the way to the top, but just a little under. And this one we'll leave over to the side. So this one will go here. So let's go ahead and mix our colors for this one. We're going to do Magic Violet as the primary color for this one. And again, just a couple of spoons. Let's just do 1.5. And that may be a little more than we need, but that's all good. Set this aside. Remember, clean your tools as you go. That's very, very important, just to make sure that you're not causing more mess or more cleanup responsibilities for yourself. This one we're going to add not too much, just a little bit of this blue, since it'll be our accent, and we're going to have to mix it in just to this little bowl right here, to this little tray right here. And I am going to clean. You've heard me talk about mica powder and how difficult it can be to clean, or how easy it sticks onto things. So we're just going to clean that, and we're going to start mixing. So we will be right back when this mixing is all done. All right, so that's all set. So let's go ahead and try this. Like I mentioned, this is my first time working with these particular molds. You all have seen, hopefully by now, this mold. So we're gonna try this method. Hopefully it works, and we'll just see how it goes. So we're gonna first pour. I'm gonna try to hold them at the same time. And what I'm gonna do is just pour a little bit of this one in the center here. And I'm gonna try to do these at the same time. That way I know I have enough resin, enough of this multicolored resin for all of them. And then I'm just gonna pour here. Very good. So one of the things that I look for with these molds in particular is to make sure that you can really see it here, to make sure that everything is closed, everything is filled. We don't really want any of those air bubbles, as you know, because as beautiful as a project can be, in some of those air bubbles you can't really notice um, with with the finished product. But you just want to be mindful of that when you're working with this resin. So one of the things I look for here is I'm just going to squeeze the sides, make sure all that is in. I'm going to get these tweezers and just kind of do some swirling effects here. Go all the way at the bottom. Just move it around. I don't want to mix it too much so it doesn't end up blending with the other colors, so we don't end up mixing the colors. But I do want to get this just moved around. And one of the things I learned, especially with the hard box, is to make sure that that you squeeze the mold. That way any of those air bubbles, if any, come out. And it also, when doing this marbling effect, it also allows you to um, move the colors around a little more. So I'm gonna set this off to the side and we're gonna hit that with the heat gun in a little. I'm actually gonna put the smaller one just because it's gonna be easier to get with the heat gun during that process. I really like it. I like the color combination. As I was mixing the colors, I was doubting myself a little and I was going to do the luster black with the purple, but I think it's going to be a beautiful combination to have that lighter blue. This purple looks very blue. I don't know how you see it necessarily. Well, I know how you see it. I'm not sure how it necessarily looks as in comparison to that, but in person, it actually looks very, very good. I'm going to set these off to the side. We'll clean these after. Just want to make sure we're staying, again, clean in the process. That's one of the big things, if you've seen this channel before, that I mention a lot. This one is going to be the mix of these two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put half of this. So this one we'll do 50 milliliters in this side, 50 in this side. This is my first time using this particular mold. And these are also from Let's Resin, these molds. And they're really, really helpful. So let's go ahead and I want to make sure you can see the 50 milliliters here. I'm just going to put my finger about where it's supposed to be. Time to put these into motion, see how it looks. I'm going to do this one first and then I'll go into this one just to make sure there's enough resin for the most important one. And then, of course, this lid is also very important, but we're going to make sure we have enough resin for this. And let's see how it turns out. That's looking pretty good. So we're just going to move this over to the side. I'm going to move these up actually a little more, just because this is going to be the area I have to clean. Cleanliness, again, is key. All right, so we're going to put this over to the side. And as you may have noticed, I'm going to need more resin for this. So we're going to make a little more resin and we will be right back. And we're all set with this resin. So now we are going to finish pouring up these 3 ounces, finish off these 3 ounces, which is actually almost the exact, if not the exact amount that each of these molds takes. And with that, this is going to be for our heart mold. I'm just going to place this here just so it's a little easier to move. And we're going to use this color green. I've never used this before, this mica powder. It looks very nice. It looks almost like a bronze. We're going to use this green. For those of you saying, well, because it is bronze, thank you. I appreciate it. We're just going to mix it in here. But that's looking good, everyone. As you know, when we have some extra resin here, that calls for a bonus of a bonus. I'm just going to set that aside because we're going to come back to that. And that was the exciting one that I'm looking forward to doing, because you maybe have seen a lot of people do this, as they're making resin, is these very different flower looking pieces with all of the colorants. So what we're going to do first is we are going to fill this up, not all the way, but just make a base with this and make sure that gets colored there. Make sure that gets full pretty, uh, about halfway for this one. Again, extra resin, so it's going to call for some more. And what we can do based on how this one turns out is we'll make a bit more. But before we do that, I want to make sure I hit this with the heat gun as well as the other ones with the heat gun. I mentioned the Let's Resin epoxy works a little faster. So we're just going to go through and on the low setting, go ahead and hit this with the heat gun. Perfect. So now we are going to add some glitter. We'll do that first. We're going to add some glitter, and I'm going to do something with the glitter that I typically don't do, but we're going to add some glitter at the very center. And I just thought of this now to have a bit of a centerpiece there. So we'll just introduce the glitter to the resin, and that's going to spread. That's all right. It's going to end up working out in our favor, keeping it in the center. We'll set the glitter aside for now. Same as the mica powder, glitter gets everywhere, so just be mindful of that. And for this tool, I'm just going to try to keep this glitter in the center here using these little tweezers that came with the mica powder. This does not have to be perfect at all, but it helps just keeping all that in the center. And we'll start off with let's do the gold here. I'm gonna have to cut the tips off of this one as well. Actually, change of plans. Let's do the red because there's already gold glitter there, and it may look a little better if we do the rose red is what this color is called. So this is from Sigwong Rose Red. And we're gonna do a little dot, some little dots there. We'll just leave it like that. We'll do a little more to that. Now let's go ahead and add our gold, and this is golden from that same company. Again, all of these are from Amazon, so you can find these on Amazon or any of your choice. I haven't worked enough with these particular tools to have an opinion, if you will, with which one's better, which one's not as good. So we'll see after this one how they are to my liking. And now we're going to do this royal blue that looked more purple, but similar to this one. This one looks more blue than it does purple. And we're going to add these to the edges here. All right, and now we are going to do what I see a lot of people do is we're going to add the white kind of just as a swirl. Just add it around here. And this helps everything blend together pretty well. And then with this little tool on the side, we are just going to encourage all of these colors to go right this way. And right here, we'll do little circular motions. All right, and what I'm gonna do off camera, and you'll see this, is I'm going to add a base coat, and I'll try to record it so we can all see, so that it's a darker color, preferably a black, like this luster black. Put it on the back, and that way the colors actually stand out. So I'm gonna move this off to the side, and we have a lot of resin, a lot of clear resin left over, possibly enough for two more. So we're gonna go ahead and do some more of these coasters, and perhaps even different designs. We'll keep the same color pattern just for the sake of this video. Let's go ahead and add some clear coat to these. And it may just be a nice little set of flower coasters. So that was it for those. Now I'm going to move this one up a little. Excited to see how these turned out. I'm hopeful that they turned out good, but I'm also understanding that this was a bonus and a bonus and a bonus and a bonus. So if they didn't turn out good, well, that just means we have to dedicate an episode to making sure that they turn out good. The only one I'm a little worried for, and I'm just going to mess with it a little here, is this one. And I probably did a little too much there. So we're going to put this over here. Again, this resin, I really like this resin, this epoxy resin from Let's Resin, because it cures a lot faster than the Kisra one I was working with, which allows me to do things to, like with this one, to add the code to that one. So we're gonna set this aside for something else at a later time. And that was it for day one. Tune in tomorrow. This is a 2-day project. So tune in tomorrow, day two, for the finished result. And we'll see you all on Wednesday. Take care. Welcome back, everyone. It is day two, three, or four. We had some little mishaps with these projects, the bonus of 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 the bonus. The epoxy colorant that I used for the very first time, after watching some videos these last couple of days, I realized the mistakes I made. We're still going to demold these, but they're the bonus. They weren't our focus. These beauties are our focus. And to be quite honest, just like in the last video, I've been looking around to see how they look, and I'm liking actually the pattern that I'm seeing. Some of the things just right off the bat that I noticed is I clearly could have mixed this a little better. You can still see um, some of the mica powder that is the residue kind of stayed over there. Same with here. And I think this has to do with the mold that I was using to pour. That can very well be the reason. So I learned my lesson. Don't pour in the mold, pour out of the mold, pour the mixed mica powder into the mold. But I'm actually very excited. I know how this one turns out as far as the finished result with the mold itself. I don't know how it's going to turn out, how it's going to look with this beautiful marble-like pattern, but I'm actually really excited. This one, again, we used a lighter blue and what we thought was purple, but it's actually stronger blue. Still looks purple, though. A black and a gold, and then I can't remember the exact name. Breen. It was breen. It was kind of like a bronze color. And then, of course, we used colorant for this too. As I was poking around really quick, one of the things I realized with this colorant is you have to be very careful with the amount they use. You can kind of see this one. It's still actually not cured all the way. The colorant doesn't cure as fast as the epoxy resin cures. This one, up until this morning, was still, and this is day three actually. You may notice that it's being uploaded on a Thursday, not a Wednesday. Lesson learned. Good for me. Again, these were the bonuses, not an excuse, but we're still going to try to redeem ourselves with these and other projects perhaps. But it looks like this one turned out good. So, you know what? Let's go ahead and start unboxing. Let's go ahead and start demolding the one that we know of. And I'm actually going to start with the lid. Again, with these, you want to be careful when you're demolding, just so you don't rip the silicone mold itself. But oh my gosh, this is a really different color, really different experience than what I'm used to with the epoxy resin. This white turned a little brown or red, if you can probably see there, but it is looking very nice. And you know, I noticed the last time in the last video I made, it actually has a little heart shape here, which, you know, for future, I can just put some mica powder there, do the box a little darker color, but this actually looks very beautiful. I love, love, love how this turned out. So we're gonna put this aside. This mold, as it did last time, it did very well. Let's go ahead and do this one out. I'm excited to see how this turns out just because of how it looked. And I'm just gonna loosen up the mold a bit, and I'm seeing this for the first time. This mold, I assure you all this time that I did not poke around on it. This is my first time demolding all of these, and I can already tell you how pleased I am with this. Wow, this color is just so different. It's a very copper almost kind of color, but it has some brown tone to it, a little different than what you would see in the copper. And then the mixture of this, the way that this colorant just poured in is unique. It's very nice. I like it, and it makes for a nice little keepsake, actually. Again, I really like this mold because the boxes just close really well. I don't see any bubble holes, so that's amazing. We're gonna set this aside. There we go. Now let's go ahead and demold. We'll demold this one here. We'll just go in order. Again, doing the lid first. This is the one that I poured in with that special mold that just contains both of them. This was a primarily epoxy resin with colorant. This one was all epoxy resin with a mold on this one poured in simultaneously, so it was half and half. Half of that purple, half of that gold, half of that black, and I absolutely like this. This is so nice. My first time using this box mold, like I told you all, and the way that it looks just gives it appearance of bubbles, if you will, just rising to the top. It is beautiful. I'm gonna set this aside, and now let's go ahead and demold this one right here. The good thing and the benefit, and actually you can see here how the mica powder that wasn't mixed kind of seeped into the bottom, but it adds a hint of gold to it that actually makes it look very unique. So let's go ahead and demold this one. I'm actually content with how it turned out, regardless of how the mica powder, the unmixed mica powder showed up. This is very, very beautiful. And of course, this just came out looking spectacular. So, oh my gosh, this is very beautiful. This is a good surprise. It's always nice to see work that you haven't done before play out very well. And it makes me a little more confident when I sell these that the individuals who will receive these, who buy these, will really like them. And just the variation, the natural creation. One of the beauties of these natural, of these created crafts, of these created projects, is that each of them is going to be unique. Not not two of them. Each of them are going to be unique. Every single product with their own particular taste to it, their own particular flair. Even if it's the same colors being used, there's still that uniqueness to it. So very pleased how this turned out. We're just going to make sure this closes here. And I think with this one, they mentioned you had to just make sure, there we go. This one's a more secure box. You have to make sure you align those corners very well. And now our blue one. Our blue one is actually one I'm excited for because we used a purple one actually. We used a stronger purple and a lighter blue. And I was a little worried that the purple was actually going to overpower the light blue that you can kind of see in the middle there. But again, it is looking great. This lid already has a sense of individuality from the actual mold itself, if I can even call it that. But it's very beautiful. You can see the lighter tones of that light blue with the purple mixing in pretty well. And let's take a look at the actual box, the actual jar. It's difficult on what to call these charm boxes, jars, shaped containers, perhaps. And wow, this one is actually giving very, very nice feels to it. It has just those different touches. For those of you that perhaps don't like the solid color, this is a beautiful color, by the way, this purple that you can, it looks purple and blue in some cases, but take a look at that. It just has these very individual tones to it. It has the blue hues mixed with this purple that in some angles looks blue. The beauties about mica powder. And again, these are beautiful little boxes, little containers that you can just place a ton of things in. Whether you order a little bracelet for your dog, or name tags for your dogs, cats, whatever, right? Anything that may be of service to you, jewelry. Even using these as little gift containers is beautiful. Now, the part that I was considering not doing, but I'm gonna do it anyway, is demolding these. And you're gonna see, because I can see it when I look in the bottom, how some of these didn't perhaps turn out to our take. But again, we'll have a different video with these to show you a different take. And I can tell right off the bat when demolding that it didn't turn out the best ways because the resin actually, surprisingly, after 3 days, is still a little bit mendable, which is really odd for resin, as you can tell. Like, let's say with this one will not move at all. But it tells you that there was perhaps too much of this colorant. Um, the glitter actually looks very beautiful, and the glitter is set in pretty well. So that's a good lesson learned for that one. Let's try this one that is going to be a little scary just because you can see that the blue really overpowered. And I actually started, when I started making resin, I started with coasters, so it's interesting to see how they'll turn out. This one actually looks very interesting. Again, very mendable here, very bendable. And You can see some of that white that must have seeped in. You can take a look. My plan was to put a black coating behind this, but there's no point on wasting more resin for a bonus project. We had extra resin that we used for it, which is all good and fine. They actually have some very interesting um, designs to them. If you like them, you like them. Let me know. If you have any suggestions, let me know. We have that one. And now our last one is one that looks almost like a galaxy. So, hey, we may just use these projects for some other things. And I did notice too, and it's possibly because I was messing with them, that they have almost a different kind of shade of resin here versus the middle. I'm just going to try to bend this to see how far it goes. But good lesson learned for sure. So I'm going to set these off to the side because, of course, these weren't our main ones. But just like with the other video, feel free to send me an email if you have any suggestions. If you would like to purchase any of these beautiful containers, have some made for yourself, send me an email. I can send you prices over, get ideas from you, see what you like, and have that conversation. And as a bonus for your purchase, we'll include some coasters, some Galaxy coasters, we'll call them. But feel free to take a look at these. And again, it was a pleasure to be here with you all, creating beautiful art that, of course, is going to benefit in more ways than one. Feel free to tune in for sure next Wednesday, where we will work on a calendar as school gets closer for teachers, for students, work on an epoxy resin calendar that is a weekly calendar, a monthly calendar. But again, it's been great to be with you all. Thanks for creating. Thanks for tuning in to Clearcraft Studio. We will see you again next time. Take care.